but the original trees were only those pine trees, those 3 pine trees you see in that picture. That's all that was in the yard. We were the original owners.
That's sick, right? Little blue jay feather. That's neat. Good morning, everyone. We're out here off San Jose. We're at Robert Stevenson's property. This was a client who came to Earthworks in search of some help. So he has a pre-existing pond. It's a nice sized pond. It's probably 15 by 20 with 2 waterfalls and streams coming in. His main issue was he couldn't keep a steady water level. So that's a main sign of a leak. I was called out here for a consult. And the first thing I really did was just started by doing a water test to make sure his pond held water. If the pond's holding water 95% of the time, probably a little bit higher, you have a leak in the waterfalls. So it was an old build. His streams and waterfalls were pretty outdated, old biological filtration units, and came out here, started talking design, reworking some of the streams and waterfalls, and brought him back to the nursery and showed him what we could do for him. So here we are. Today's Monday, and we're gonna get started on that. We're gonna be slamming and jamming this one pretty quickly. We have 3 days really budgeted to get this done. So it's all about efficiencies, especially with this strange access that you see me walking through right now. We have some older steppers here. I mean, we have a machine. I don't know how much we're gonna be using it. It's the smaller Bobcat, dingo styled stand behind front end loader. So I might, we brought plywood of course, but we might just limit ourselves to wheelbarrowing just so we do as little damage as possible to his yard. Continuing this way, you see there's just these kind of awkward step ups. We want to be super careful about not cracking these. So it's going to take me a couple minutes to really figure out how we're going to attack this, but once we get going, I mean, it's going to look like we dropped a bomb out here the first day. Second day is going to be putting everything back together. Third day, final touches. Nice traditional kind of style flagstone patio. Definitely be laying a bunch of plywood down to protect that, since our first step is draining and removing all this existing rock. We're going to be staging, probably close to, I don't know, maybe 4,000 pounds worth of rock. So keeping that in mind, we don't want to damage what is already out here. We don't want to be breaking stuff, because then we have to fix it, of course, and be less invasive as possible. Mr. Robinson, as you can tell, he is a total plant guy. So him and I kind of kicked off and bonded really quickly because he has these beautiful palm specimens. He gets nerdy like I do. He uses a lot of the scientific naming, so that was fun, just chatting about the species that he has in his yard. Epic roses. He has a really interesting tree fern tucked away up where we're going to be going crazy and demoing. So not only is the access and just our surrounding area is really important to be super low invasive. That doesn't make sense. Low impact. We don't want to disturb stuff. So there's even certain plants up there that we need to be able to work around. So here it is. This is his great pond. I believe he had a contractor come out here, I want to say 3 years ago, and totally rework this. So the structure of the pond, the shelving's done just fine. Everything's good. He has an Aquascape 8.0 skimmer. That's a good unit to have. He also has an AquaSurge pump in there. So he's on the right track. There's not a whole lot that we have to redo to get this thing working. It's just really fixing the leak so he doesn't have to constantly fill it with the water, which is, killing his fish. It's a constant nightmare when you have to keep filling your pond. So the plan is, I'm going to jump up here to give you a better idea. And this is an epic palm tree. I have one of these at my house, the Perotis Everglades palm. this is a nice size clump for North Florida. Doesn't really like the winters, but it seems as if he has a nice little microclimate here, allowing it to get as big as it is. So what this job entails is we'll drain this water level pretty much from this little peninsula here, from this lily. We're gonna demo this whole edge, this whole waterfall up here. And let's see, hopefully I don't fall on camera because that'd be embarrassing, but this stream and waterfalls here is gonna be demoed. He has 2 biological filtration systems here. We're gonna replace those with new units. So we have an Aquascape 2500 biofall, which is the mid-size biological filtration that they offer, and we're gonna go with a smaller, one of the smaller units, the 1000 biofall on this side. Mr. Stevenson really enjoys this kind of little peninsula that happens here. When we bring in our new piece of liner that's gonna be overlapping the pond liner, we're not only gonna be fixing the leak, but also giving us an opportunity to rework this and just make it look more natural, make it look more built in. We're gonna help Mr. Stevenson out and give him something not only functional, but beautiful to look at. Day 3 at Robert Stevenson's property. I just wanted to give you another overview. This is kind of where we started at the beginning and showing you what it looks like at the end. So one of the cool things, all that plywood did its job. No tracks from us, so that's something to keep in mind always on any kind of job, is just the damage we're going to be doing just from traveling back and forth. We always go the extra mile, lay plywood down when we can, and when we have the opportunity to save grass so we don't have to replace. And in this case, it worked out perfectly. All of his vegetation is good to go. His walkway even was undisturbed, which is always nice. So we come back here and we got everything from landscape. We did pine straw mulching and some new waterfalls. The water is a little on the murky side. That's very typical with draining and refilling a pond. So what we do to help this is down in the skimmer, we have a product called Rapid Clear filter pads, which are these 2 fine filter media pads inside the skimmer basket. As you can see, the skimmer is doing a good job getting all this debris. Clear that out a little bit. But what these 2 filter pads are doing are catching the fine suspended particulate in the water, giving it that murky look. And you can see we have that difference, the pure white up against that fine silt that's caught in there. So leaving those in there for a couple days is gonna help speed up the clearing process of the water. They are reusable. You can hose them down every night and reuse them. They will eventually fall apart, but they last long enough to clear a pond up multiple times. So yeah, I mean, we brought out some extra plantings. We had some wiggle room on the budget due to our tonnage of rock and size of liner coming down, so that's always nice. Putting the cherry on top. I'm gonna jump back there and point out what we actually installed in here, because Mr. Stevenson has such a great garden already. It gave us a nice canvas to work with. So we popped in 2 variegated shell gingers here. These are gonna get a little bit of height, and they do great in this heavy shade area. This is gonna bring in a lot of lightness and just a nice pop up against this dark fencing area back here. His Sansevieria, this was existing. We transplanted it out of the way, moved it back in once construction was done. Also, we have this nice little continuation of pearl plants down here. That's gonna do really well just growing in around that biofall, making it disappear. His cast irons, once again, these were existing. That was a transplant, and just bringing them back in once construction is done. The Stromanthia is this next plant over here with the red, white, and green. Excellent shade-loving plant, giving you a ton of color year-round without flowering. My favorite plant out of this whole thing, whoop, oh my God, is this guy right here. So this was an existing tree fern that Robert had, we had to be super careful with this one because it's so unique. It's such a nice specimen. Transplanted it, repotted it up, just kept it in the shade so it wouldn't skip a beat when we brought it back in. It just has this nice curvature to it, so kind of bringing it up over the stream and kind of outcropping is a nice touch to it. More Sansevieria just plugged in, Stromanthia. That's about it, a couple cast irons. The way this job turned out, I couldn't be more happy with it. It was pretty technical in the sense of just access, really. I would say 95% of our rocks were brought down through the pond. So when we were building, this thing was drained and we literally had to do just an assembly line, you know, just handing each other rocks up to this top area. A lot of running into tree limbs while we were working. There was a ton of that going on, so quite the challenge, but we made it out. Everything's flowing nice. This is only a 5,000 gallon per hour pump, but we have a total of 4 waterfalls. Excellent. I don't think I've ever built this many falls with that gallon per hour pump. So we got a lot of noise going on, a lot of agitation down there for the aeration purposes and the dissolved oxygen for the fish in the pond. That's the most important thing about the waterfalls. So turned out great. I mean, it was a challenge, but Mr. Stevenson's happy, I'm happy, the crew's happy. He just gave us ice cream cones, so we're good to go. And yeah. Once again, this was just a rebuild. So if anyone has any existing water features, in Mr. Stevenson's case, there was a leak in the upper falls area. We actually found root systems growing through the liner from lack of underlayment. But if you have a leak issue on an existing water feature, or if you want to just rebuild, add on, we 100% can take care of you. Just come into the shop, give us a call. We can set up an appointment for one of the salespersons to come out. I handle the majority of the water features, so you can ask for Mike Q. But besides that, let us know how we can help, and we'll see you next time.